Good afternoon, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good day and God bless you. Let's get into the news. Let's start with what more and more pundits are starting to recognize. Okay. Starting to interesting, like it's very interesting how they waited to start saying this. More and more pundits are recognizing that the GOP undeniably racked up huge wins on Tuesday. You want to see one of the headlines from The Atlantic that just came out: why the red wave hit New York, inflation, crime and redistricting tinted a blue state red. If you find these fit now, of course, you're not hearing this in the media, larger media, that broadcast media. But if you dig, you're gonna find plenty of articles that recognize there were huge wins on Tuesday for the GOP, and not only that, but every day since, with our Pony Express election system, third world banana republic election system, every day since we're learning have more and more victories, particularly in the House races. Now that's key to much of the disappointment that's going on here. In the era of mail-in ballots, for right or for wrong, for good or for evil, right? We have to be realist here. In the era of mail-in ballots, we are officially robbed of the spectacle enjoyment of midterm elections, or even presidential elections for that matter. Right. I talked about it yesterday. I could still remember back in 1994 as the first election I really follows, first election I voted in, right, the Gingrich Revolution 1994. I remember Dan Rather just sitting there was at his desk, with his hand shaking, saying, "We now have confirmation that the Republicans are poised to take the House. The Republicans are poised to take the House." It was so invigorating, so thrilling. That was around 10:30 at night. We knew back in the good old days when we knew how to count, when we had an education system that still taught us math. We knew who the winner was within hours of the polls closing. You know, like Brazil, the US, like France does, like Rwanda done, like any other nation does. But now that's over. And the spectacle of the election, the enjoyment, the color of watching the returns has been robbed from us. Election day is gone. Welcome to election month, for heaven's sakes. And it's an absolute international embarrassment. What's happening in Arizona right now is an international event. It's all orchestrated. It's not a single major Republican leader who's standing up against it. Katie Hobbs is counting her opponent's votes. Let that hit you. Let that effing hit you. Katie Hobbs, the current Secretary of State, is counting her opponent's votes. I'm getting messages from people all over the freaking world, asking me what the hell is going on with the US election system. We get our elections done within hours of the polls. We certainly don't have an opponent, a gubernatorial, in this case gubernatorial candidate, counting her own, in charge of her opponent's vote. And the answer is it's all by design. The establishment wants us discouraged and disparaged. The establishment wants us demoralized and despondent. That's true. And that's just the beginning of the rat I'm smelling. I'm just getting warmed up. Oh, we're gonna have fun today. We are gonna have fun. Keep in mind, you got Katie Hobbs, the current Secretary of State of Arizona, in charge of an election she's in. And every Republican leader and Democrat leader and legacy media outlet are all like, "That's cool. Yeah, that's her job. That's cool. We're not getting involved. That's cool." But as the dust of disillusionment starts to clear, we're beginning to get an explicit pattern of how undeniably big the GOP wins were, and are continuing to be. And the rat that's behind some of the sabotage that's going on here. Let's start with the obvious. The GOP is going to take the House. It looks like that's inevitable. Republicans now officially have 211 seats. They only need 7 Democrats way behind. They have only 192. So obviously, there's still, to their everlasting shame, there's still contest getting counted, but virtually all pundits now agree, Democrat, Republican, they now agree. We are looking at a Republican-controlled House. The question now is just by how much. Now we have to realize that with that, we've got to really stop. We're in a war, right? Okay. We've just launched an offensive, and now we're doing some recon and assessment. Okay. We have to realize that with taking the House, the Biden regime has officially been brought down legislatively. Let that hit you. The Biden regime has lost officially legislatively. We have won the legislative battle. It wasn't pretty, but we won. This is the second election in a row where the Democrats have lost the seats in the House they gained in 2018. They lost 15 in 2020. We're gonna find out how much they lose in 2022. But they're already guaranteed. They have lost. It's just a question by how much. So the battle to stop Biden legislatively has been won. The battle to stop Biden legislatively has been when the Biden era is over from an alleged doesn't matter what happens in the Senate. I am just as freaked out about what's going on in the Senate, particularly in Arizona and Nevada. Well, ended forget a lot one of them when Shubak our God help us Murkowski, so that's why we have 49. Republicans already kind of set in the Senate, but regard we could lose the Senate outright. You gotta let this hit shit, we can lose the center. Right? It is totally irrelevant to the legislative agenda of Biden. Biden's legislative agenda has now been stopped. Biden is gonna have to rule according to EO's executive orders, and the courts have been shutting them down left and right. And why are the courts? And why are the courts shutting them down left and right? Because Donald Trump transformed the judiciary. Don't you effing ever forget that? Because Trump appointed more judges in his single term than most of his recent predecessors combined were able to appoint. So, we as of Tuesday effectively ended legislative rule, the binding regime, and because of the amazing recalibration of the courts around the conservative Federalist Society via one Donald J. Trump, or any and all of Biden's IOs are getting shut down, left and right. So I think Biden is through. I mean, he's still plenty a mess he can get in. But at least for the next 2 years, we have shut this clown has been shut down. What's even better, is now Jim Jordan, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz, all have subpoena power. And they have already said it's non-negotiable. They're going after Hunter Biden. They're going after the B crime family. They're going after the FBI. They're going after Biden's sellouts, China and Ukraine. A special live stream to just kind of vent and just kind of talk some stuff through, and he put it beautifully. We won, but we didn't get justice. We won, but we didn't get justice. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, that hit so home to me. We won, but we didn't get justice, we didn't crush them. We got the majority, but we didn't make it hurt. Okay. We have to remember that while we didn't get the justice we wanted in that massive, and when at all we need is one extra seat, that's it. And then we get all of the oversight committees, we get all of the blocking power. Okay. So that we have to remember that no matter what happens in the Senate, we won, okay, no matter what, but that, and by the way, the Democrats are toast in 2024. When it comes to the Senate, the vast majority of seats that were up for re-election or up for bids, Senate always has 30% of its seats up every 2 years of article. Vast majority that were Republicans. Republicans were defending like Iowa 17 seats, who was huge, and it looks like we lost one. Okay. Well, yeah, we've lost one that's out of those 17. We lost one that's pretty good. It's pretty darn good. We obviously want to gain, but that's it. 2024 it's the opposite. The Democrats are going to have to be defending like 17 seats. So Democrats are going to be up inordinately for re-election in the Senate. So this is part of the rat that Dr. Gina is smelling here. Something's going on here between the Republican establishment, Democrat establishment that is very worried about 2024. But then when it went beyond even just the congressional elections, we had several massive statewide victories. Republicans now have more. You've got to let this hit you. Those who you think Donald Trump cost of the election, God guys, Republicans now have more supermajorities, more veto-proof state legislature majorities in both chambers of the legislators in more states than ever before. That's what I meant the next day when I said red states got redder in and more. We have more trifectas than ever before. That's where you have Republicans owning the governorship plus both chambers. The legislature, 23 states right now, are Republican trifectas. We got supermajorities in both chambers in Florida. In North Carolina's Senate, we got it, and we fell short of just one seat of a supermajority in their House. Republicans won a supermajority in Montana for the first time in their legislative history. And by the way, shame on Montana for that referendum. That was disgusting. Your voters, you should be ashamed of yourself. You vote against saving the life of a child. Like whatever it was, stillborn or survival of abortion. You say no, go ahead and kill it. Disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourself. I don't care if you're maggot kind of, you're not maggot. Can you? I don't care about your Republican supermajorities if you're going to be that immoral and that vile. Sorry, I need to say a little something to our Montana voters on that one. I did. There's a couple of I read some explanations on it that it might have been our fault. In terms of the way we wrote the referendum, but shame on you for such a vile display of immorality, and frankly, cowardice on that point. Stand up for what's good. I know it takes courage. That's what makes Jordan Peterson so amazing. Stand up for what's good. Stop always buckling under the politically correct pressure. There. They only have power as long as we let them have power. I digress. Republicans expanded their supermajorities in Kentucky. In Kentucky, Democrats are basically becoming extinct. Republicans own 80% of Kentucky's legislature. And it's just stunning Iowa and West Virginia. They both went. We have to remember Iowa and West Virginia were one solid blue states. They voted for 7 of 7 Democrats out of 8 presidential elections. Iowa is now a supermajority Republican state. I was totally Republican. All of their senators, all of their representatives, their governor, their state senate, their hot state house attorney John they finally got rid. I think it was an attorney general was a Democrat who was there for like 40 years. They finally got rid of West Virginia. Again, the Robert Byrd Wright Rockefeller J. Rockefeller, and they were all Democrats. That's what Manchin is. He's a holdover from their Democrat days. They both have huge Republican super majorities. Ohio, which was once a swing state, voted for Obama twice. They have Republican supermajorities down ticket all the way through J.D. Vance. All that these states are gone for the Democrats for the foreseeable future. They're gone. We had massive victories. With taking Congress, we have massive victories at state levels. We also massive victories at the judiciary level. In Ohio, Republicans swept all 3 contested seats for their state Supreme Court, giving them for the first time a conservative majority. And the races weren't even close. The Republicans blew the Democrats out of the water. In North Carolina, we talked about this. Republicans swept their Supreme Court races as well and flipped what was up until Tuesday, a radically left Supreme Court. State Supreme Court North Carolina Supreme Court is now solidly conservative. Moreover, The Federalist is reporting that all 4 judges running for seats in the North Carolina Court of Appeals crushed their Democrat opponents. You have to let all of this seep in and then ask, is the explanations that the New York Post and Fox News and other Murdoch-owned outlets making any sense? All what's going on with Daily Wire? I think Daily Wire is just becoming another establishment mouthpiece at this point. But are their explanations making any sense in light of this? This is all huge. You have to understand this is huge for the continued conservative transformation of our national legal system, which in the end, is the ultimate deciding factor in what laws are allowed to stamp. And Biden is learning that the hard way, especially when it came to his student loan, buy out or give out that just got shot down by a federal judge. So we got the House, we got more Republican state supermajorities than ever, we flipped a number of state Supreme Courts and judiciaries, and we also flipped lots of school boards. Across the nation, Kansas now has a 7-3 conservative Republican majority for the state's Board of Education after 4 conservative candidates swept their elections. We saw the same sweeps in Texas for their state Board of Education. In Michigan, the Brandywine Board of Education flipped after 4 conservative candidates backed by the 1776 Project all won their elections. We saw the same thing in Florida. We saw the same thing in North Carolina as well. And to make it even sweeter, we stampeded the 2 darlings of the Democratic Party. They were the future of the Democratic Party. They were future Democratic presidential contenders that were going to galvanize the youth vote. Stacey Abrams and Beto O'Rourke were crushed. They were humiliated. The day it wasn't even just that, and there was a 4th J6 committee member who's now gone. She lost her re-election, Virginia Democratic Congresswoman Elaine Luria. She lost to the Republican Jennifer Kagan's. We could forget that as of this week, right, given we just pick up those few more seats we need to get that magic 2018. The J6 committee's officially dead. Tober, that international embarrassment, that banana republic, kangaroo court is finally done. It's over. We also saw one of the highest-ranking Democrats go down. Democrat Congressional Campaign Committee Chair Sean Patrick Maloney in New York. He lost his re-election bid as part of that New York red wave, New York 17th Congressional District. He lost to Mike Lawler. The Republican Maloney's loss is the first time a House campaign committee campaign committee chairs couldn't even win his own seat. It's the first time he's lost and won as law since 1992. So all of this is to say that even if nothing else changes from here on and barring us getting to our 2018, it was a very, very impressive sweep of wins. Whatever happens in the Senate, we defended. I think we had 17 seats to defend. We defended 16 successfully. Whatever happened, nothing changes the fact that we took the House given the current count. We took the House, we racked up, made super majorities, we flipped a number of state Supreme Courts and judiciaries, we flipped a number of school boards, and we crushed a number of Democrat all-stars. Alright folks, that's the update. Have a great weekend. We will have more updates for you this weekend.